So you were talking a little bit more about like kind of the difference in the decades and also living rurally and then coming to city. I was wondering if you could continue on with that a little bit more. Yeah.
It's taken 40, 50 years to get to a point where I feel like I'm pretty open and respectful and use the right terminology and all that kind of thing. They correct me when I don't, so I have people that help me with that.
Oh, good.
But kind of where I was going was that because we're in this community, I think Ava has the opportunity to grow and develop the way she wants to as a woman without a lot of the negativity that we see in other areas.
Yeah.
Lincoln will have a Pride Festival in 2 weeks, 1 week. It's extremely well attended. They've had to find a larger venue to be able to do it.
Do people come from all of the state?
It's a lot of Lincoln in the area because some of the smaller towns in Nebraska have their own Pride festivals now.
There you go. And the small towns here are really small.
They are really small.
They're kind of just crossroads, and
we,
there's a church. And
well, we will have.
Those towns, the one church.
We'll be recruiting foster parents at the Pride Festival in a town that's about 10, 12,000 this weekend. We'll be recruiting in Lincoln, which is of course much larger. There will be, 2 or 3 protesters outside of the entrance, but they're so overwhelmed by the positive people that are going into the event that they really don't matter. And it's just a large group of people having a great time, feeling very comfortable with themselves and expressing themselves. And there's no problem with that in Lincoln at all. Even those that don't agree with it, they kind of go, well, live and let live.
Oh, that's good.
To some extent.
I know some events here in the U.S. are people are coming directly to harass, and they are very bad actors and very scary, actually, kind of, looking kind of quasi-military.
We haven't had that yet. We'll see what this year's Pride, because the political climate has changed here pretty significantly over the last year or two.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
The Ava and Liva both mentioned LB 574, which is basically a bill that says if you're not an adult, even with parental consent, even with a doctor's consent, even with a diagnosis, even with all of this, you're not allowed to have gender-affirming care in Nebraska. That's the start of it. We're a little concerned that next year they'll try to take it another step and start applying that to adults. But that has really been at the forefront of the news, conversations, of social media over the last, since January when our legislative session began. It's been the one and only topic in Nebraska politics for a few months now. And it will stay that way for a while because it isn't finished yet. The bill is passed, it's been signed, but there are legal challenges, all these kinds of things happening. And I don't know what kind of crazy that might bring out at the Pride Festival this year. I'm hoping it remains what it has been.
Right, so that's kind of a worry, like just kind of a generalized kind of worry, That's very stressful.
It is. It's especially as a parent. We want Ava to be independent, to live on her own, to be able to do the things that she wants to do and go out and have fun. But the reality of life is that right now she's a target because of who she is, and that's a concern.
Right. So. Yeah. God, that makes me feel very emotional. Yeah.
That's hard for me not to be mommy. They make fun of me because watch Olivia's face during this. It's been a very, very hard thing not to be just like a mommy, super mommy. So, when Ava realized she was transgender, I was like, okay, let's go get a counselor. Let's get the best doctor. It sounded like I was a coach, I was like, had my gear on and I was going to go get her the best of everything. But then I wanted to keep her like close. And so it was really hard because her her therapist had to say, "Hey, back off. How old is she?" And
and
so
it must be hard too because you're a shyer person and a little anxious. So I can see how you're like,
and I'm busting in. I basically stalked her therapist because she was full. She wasn't accepting clients, but she was the best in the area. So I just kept calling her and wearing her down. And then, and so, I had to kind of back off. And that was really hard. And to make sure that she was safe. And, it's like, can't you live with me? Can't you live within 25 feet of my bedroom? But
I love it that you're wearing like a leopard print too.
I know, see, that's like what I am, like this all the time.
I love it.
Yeah, so, it was just really hard not to, protect her in every way possible. So we try to let her have her freedom. And that's something about the Pride event, too. We've had the last couple of years, they've warned us that, there could be danger. There could be people showing up. And
who kind of puts out these warnings, I guess? Or is it just kind of word of mouth? Or
it's the Pride board. We have a board.
Word of mouth is
Okay.
Yeah, but then I feel like, if something bad happens, we're kind of used to the last couple of years, nothing really bad happened. 2 people showed up with signs. So then if something bad would happen, will everyone be prepared? Because we're kind of like in this cocoon, but not because of how things have changed so much this year.
Yeah,
so,
it's really rapidly changing.
So.
Yeah, and I hate to bring up Florida again, but like the NAACP and organizations like that have put out warnings about Florida, and I think that probably other organizations, even internationally, have put out warnings about the United States and about specific states here in the U.S. because they're worried about their citizens coming here or travel to Florida. Because it's dangerous now. It is dangerous. It's literally dangerous. And what a terrible thing, folks. Do you really want that to happen in your state? I don't, I don't.
It's just, And after COVID, I had this Pollyanna view that, everyone would spend time during COVID, educating themselves, and they'd be so thankful to be out and about again, and they'd be just a little bit more accepting. And all my friends were like, "What were you thinking?"
Right.
And so,
like wanting to hug each other more, or something because of isolation. Yeah.
And it's
I think some people did do that though, and some people did do introspection. But I think other people maybe took a different tactic where they were like, "Okay, now I need to be super prepper and screw everybody else."
And their way was the only right way, and that's where we got stuck. And one of my really good friends and mentors, she always says, you don't know what you don't know. And so she says, I think even more of that happened, of you don't know what you don't know during COVID because we were so closed off. So I think that's where a lot of this has come from too.
Ignorance.
Yeah,
exactly. Some of it's willful too, because people don't want to hear other perspectives. And if you're not going to school, for instance, which is kind of an egalitarian setting where you're exposed to different ideas, for instance, then what happens? You're isolated. Yeah.
People got very comfortable with themselves and their ideas, both in a positive and a negative way. And then you had somebody strongly encouraging a lot of those negative thoughts, and so we came out of all of that time of being apart and being alone to a large extent, and I think people came out of their homes with this idea that I'm right, everyone else is wrong, and they've forgotten how to compromise. They've forgotten how to try to think from the other guy's perspective. It just doesn't happen. And you talk about pride and only being a couple of people there. That's been true. Unfortunately, now, the other foolish thing Nebraska did is that they've really loosened gun laws. And so all it takes is one nut job with a free and legal weapon.
Is it a constitutional carry?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can talk about that for hours.
It makes me think about too, like the Pride Festival and worrying about who's going to show up. Also, like bills who have that have been passed in other areas of the United States about like drag queens and like dressing up in drag and like dressing up as a gender that is not your own gender, and that becoming a real problem. So then also wondering like, what is that going to look like? Because Pride and Lincoln, they always have like a huge drag show too, which is like a huge part of Pride, and it's something that a lot of people love, but also wondering
some places have actually canceled pride events.
Yeah,
because Pride organizations are sort of incorporated as nonprofits, and I'm not sure why they are canceling. Maybe they're worried about laws. Maybe they're worried about liability. Maybe they're worried about money or being sued. I don't know what the deal is, but it doesn't seem like a Pride event if you're canceling it. And not allowing people to show up and I say show up anyway.
I say show up, and then also just knowing, like, preparing physically and mentally, like you said, like if something bigger does happen, like what will happen. And they do have like security at Pride, so that's always like a layer of comfort. But just knowing like what can I do for like myself and the people I love in that moment.
It's terrible that we have to like. I mean, oftentimes I'm kind of bored at Pride, you know. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. I mean, I haven't even gone to, Pride events for many years because, I don't know, I've just kind of been there and done that. But it's become a whole nother thing now. I feel like compelled to go or compelled to support it because, there's so much against it now. We have so much strife. It's so weird that we have to prepare for violence on a daily basis. And it's not just trans people. It's like rippling out to other people who support us, anybody, any sort of cisgendered or straight person out there. But we need all of you. We really need all of you because there's so few of us. We're very easy to bully, right? We're very easy to bully. So we need all of you all to come out, and whether it's to a Pride event to show that you're an ally or just speaking up, go to those legislators and talk to them. Use your privilege, please.
Or just question. I wish people would ask more questions instead of just making judgments. And so
questions like what?
Would they, if they don't agree with what, is happening, we have a drag queen story hour that happens here in Lincoln sometimes and then sometimes in Omaha. And people that are so against it, they've never asked once about what the attendance looks like, if there's security, how the children react to it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of our other supporters in the community out in Nebraska and PFLAG. They will send adults there to kind of like go around the children and the person that's reading the book. And the children just love it. And I've seen it on video. I haven't been to one because we've always missed them. But it's so funny because the children are so enthralled with the story and with the person's voice because someone has picked a favorite book. And so, their voice is so animated. Yeah. And this last time...
Well, that's the whole thing about drag queens. It's over the top.
It is.
Entertainment.
And they were sprinkling glitter in this last one, so the kids were so mesmerized. And they said it wasn't about a drag queen, it was about this fabulous story. Yeah. And they said, one person said, I don't even think the children knew.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't even pay attention. They just said, that woman had the prettiest dress in the world. So, for these people to like say that we can't have them, well, why not?
Yeah.
And when we ask why, they get upset. So they don't want to have those discussions, and that's what's concerning.
Do you ever talk about being the parent of a trans person?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How do those conversations go?
I've had a lot of them that have been really good. They've said, "Oh, so how do you support her? What words should I use?" They ask a lot of questions on, our first reaction or, a lot of questions there. I know them.
I'm also interested in that. If you want to elaborate on that,
we cornered you.
Okay?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
This is a really embarrassing story for you.
Great.
Okay,
I love it. It's
so
so funny.
Ava was super evil. She had been evil. She had been evil for like a 5-day stint, and that is not like her to do this because she's always so laid back and she wants to be the pleaser and everything. And so she was so short. So we were in bed. She was somewhere. Were you working or something?
I was downstairs doing homework. Homework is smoking weed.
Yeah. Which you can smell upstairs.
You can smell it, but I lit a candle. I thought I was good to go.
And I opened my window.
Yeah.
So anyway, we waited and we said, she's going to come up and we're not going to bed until she confronts us. And we're going to give her options on why she's so upset. So we came up with, she wants to be a drag queen, or she's trans, because we already knew she was gay.
Why did those thoughts come to your head?
We knew she was.
The women's clothing.
The women's clothing.
Okay, women's clothing.
The
okay.
women's clothing.
All right.
When
The
she-
makeup. She does really good makeup.
When she came out as gay at 16, we knew then when that conversation was over, like, well, we're not done yet. She's going to transition.
Oh,
It's not a surprise to either one of us.
Okay.
We
from
said
a
she
young
wasn't
age,
finished.
we've
you
known-
all are pretty hip.
No, it just was pretty obvious.
Okay. All right.
Common sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
She didn't try to hide it all.
Okay.
From a young age, I did dance and I did like ballet and all the jazz. So I had all the costumes.
Okay.
They would disappear, and suddenly Ava would be
Yeah,
Ava would be in my tutu.
walking down the
Yeah.
Oh my God, I looked.
Like from the time she was
Yeah.
little, she asked. Like I used to get Barbies for Christmas and
Oh,
throw them
yes.
away because I hated them. Ava would take the Barbies.
I
and-
got the Barbies. It was awesome.
Yeah, so just things like that. And even like when we were in high school together, there were times where like maybe my bra went missing. And I was like, that's a little strange.
Awesome.
But
That's great to have a sister.
I know, isn't it awesome? Yeah.
yeah, so things like that. I
No
was
one
like,
suspects you.
Yeah. I was like, she'll talk to me when she's ready. And she did. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Wow.
She talked to, of course, her sister before, which we knew that would
Okay.
happen. So we knew that there was like kind of like a head start. And so I think we just decided those two. Those two were it. And when I was pregnant with her and they tell you, it's a boy, I'm like, no, it's not. It never felt like it. So that was odd because I was like, no, it feels just like Liv, you know,
Okay.
kind of like, you know, very uncomfortable, which is a girl sometimes. So, so anyway, we're really, and then she's always a little bit more feminine than Olivia in her basketball shorts and
Live more
Yeah.
basketball shorts. For all of her
I dressed.
childhood.
yeah. Ava's clothes were
was-
cuter.
It was confusing because I dressed like a boy for about 5 years, and Ava was dressing like a girl for like 5. We just
Yeah.
flip flopped for a
Wow.
little bit.
That's
and then,
great.
Yeah, and then she officially flip flopped back a
then-
couple years later.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No,
I
it
didn't
was,
really save money on clothes though, so
You didn't save money on
didn't
clothes.
really
No.
save money on clothes though, did we? So then we said, did we have to call her to get her to come upstairs?
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Oh, you were hiding.
Okay,
I
so
was
yeah,
hiding.
the
Okay.
night, the
was
night,
hiding.
the night of truth.
Right.
We had Dad called her and said, "We're not going to bed until you come up here." She said, "Why?" And I think you said because you've been an asshole. And
Yes, you did.
and so
Yes, you did.
and so then what was it? You hung up, he hung up, and she didn't come. And so then he calls her back.
Oh, you guys are calling downstairs?
I'm downstairs. Yes.
My room was
This is like a
downstairs.
different generation.
this was
Yeah.
Yes.
a very common thing.
Because we knew that she would pretend to
Okay.
like
Be
not
asleep.
hear us or be
Okay.
asleep because
Right.
the weed came through the furnace. And so anyway, then kept calling. So 3 times the charm, she comes up and she does this, what? And she's very angry.
It was very bitchy.
And I said, sit down. I said, we have some things that we need to ask you. We need to ask you. We have a feeling that you're upset about something that you don't want to tell us. And I said, being a teacher, I'm like, is it A, that you're transgender? Or B, you would prefer to be a drag queen? I was really kind of hoping, well, either one would be fine. Because, like, I was thinking drag queen would be cool makeup and everything. And,
Right.
you know, but either one, we knew it
Yeah,
was one of them.
not all trans women dress up and
Yeah.
Or,
So I
or
didn't
use
know.
makeup. Yeah.
You know, I didn't know because she would sometimes wear no makeup.
And I
so-
can tell that you're a little bit theatrical.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's what she gets
It would have
around.
been so cool if I knew the drag makeup.
I know.
I do agree.
I know. So anyway, I said either's fine. We have to know because you're just not happy. And then Dad went into his, "You're not finished yet. you said you were gay, that's great, but then you're not quite done. And we said, it's like you're not cooked enough or something. Like, we put you in the oven.
That's funny.
You came
Because
out.
I say that too. I'm like, oh, I'm already cooked. I'm well done.
Well, we said she was not. She's not even, like, she was rare.
Yeah.
Rare. So then she sat down and she just looked at us and she was going to get back up off the bed and leave. And I said, guess what? Under these sheets, I'm naked. If you walk out, I'm taking the sheets off and following
Oh dear
you.
God, that is.
Oh my!
And she had to swear so many F words, so many F word cousins went on.
I
with
remember,
it.
yeah.
And I started, and I was like, I ain't lying. And she comes back and she
Did you
says,
used to be a burlesque performer or something?
no, but maybe in a previous life, right?
Like,
Okay.
just
Past life.
sliding it down. and
So
I'm just
anyway,
like, the worst
I was
anxiety.
dramatic, and she goes, "Oh Jesus Christ!" And she like runs over, sits in the bed, and she goes, "Okay, it's A." And I'm like, no, you have to say it.
Yes.
And so then she finally came out, and we were just like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
You can finally sleep without
Yeah.
your hatred going on.
Yeah.
You know, it was such
And
a release.
No more hiding in the basement.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So that was fabulous then. We had a great talk, didn't we?
We did have a very good talk. Yeah, it was good after that. After my mom accidentally flashed me, and then
I put the sheets back up.
yeah,
After
well,
she admitted
almost
it,
flashed
like,
me.
yeah.
Yeah,
I kept him up the whole night then during our fabulous talk.
you
so.
did.
You're welcome.
But yeah, I think I cried, and then, at some point I can't remember how I asked the question, but it was like something along the lines of like, you knew I was trans, but sometimes I don't like, the things you say, or sometimes, there's like transphobic stuff, and they were like, well, like, listen, we're trailer kids. We're not
Which
trailer.
we didn't really even realize.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about before. You
Yeah.
just don't realize some of the things that you say, that can be, taken that way.
Yeah.
So we were like, whoa.
Well, we've taken it a lot of ways to making fun of our upbringing with completely inappropriate humor, saying the kind of things that would be said because it's like, okay, this is the worst thing you could possibly say, is that we say it for humor's effect, and
well, sometimes cruelty is couched in humor.
Yeah.
And it's not meant as humorous. It's meant so that somebody can't have a comeback.
Yeah.
It's basically it.
So we still do. We have highly inappropriate humor with each other that really is making fun of, God, can you believe this is what we used to be? Can you believe this is how our parents are? This is how other people are. And so Ava did a good job of explaining to us that you guys think this is funny. Maybe it is to you, but I'm not quite there yet. So
Yeah.
And that's so brave for somebody who is a little bit anxious and who would rather hang out in the basement and
It was a lot. Yeah.
And you're obviously really loving parents too. So to confront somebody who's loving that's also difficult. That's its own difficulty.
she had her sister's help.
Yeah.
Her sister has no problem saying things to us.
Okay.
You love it.
I sometimes like to be the word of mouth.
Okay.
But
It's like the bouncer.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're the defender.
I
Okay.
am. And
That dancing training comes in
Yeah.
handy.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
It's always kind of been that way. Like with Ava, I will literally pounce on anyone that makes her feel maybe sad or like down or upset. So it was interesting.
I got to tell you, that's one of my best memories of my brother. He was younger, and at the time he was smaller. He's like towers over me now, but he defended me against somebody who he thought was bullying me, and that just went right into my heart and it stayed there forever.
Yeah, even today as a full-grown adult, sometimes I have to watch myself because I'm like, when Ava tells me something, I'm like, I'm an adult now. I'm like, I can't pounce like I used to.
Find him.
Can't pounce like I used to.
I can tell Mama still wants to do that though.
Like, let's go find them. I will explain this to them.
Yeah.
I will teach them something.
Yes,
It
right.
was definitely, I think, interesting being like the third party when Ava was like telling them like who she is and like coming out to them.
Right, because you're almost in the same peer group.
Yeah.
You're not that much, there's not much age difference.
Yeah,
here.
no.
Yeah.
And I was already moved out of the house. And so Ava had told me before them, like, a while before. And so then they would kind of be like, what's going on with Ava? And I'm like, they want to know so bad, but it's not my thing to tell.
Yeah.
And so, like, also respecting her autonomy, her privacy, but also, like, letting my parents know, like, she's okay. You know, like, she is going to be okay. Like, just give her some time. But also, like, not sharing her story because that's not mine to share. And then also seeing, like, how much their relationship has grown since she's come out. Just kind of, like, the third party looking at it because she's way more. She doesn't hide in the basement anymore. She'll smoke her weed freely wherever. And,
smoke it anywhere.
Yeah, so she's definitely, like, she's become more, like, comfortable, like, to be around family and like those relationships that might have been like harder in the past.
That by the way, is that kind of positive feedback for you guys as parents to hear that? Yeah.
Because we're always, as parents, we're stupid. So we've had a lot of learning, but they always think we're the dumbest on earth. We're starting to. I know we're starting to make gains on our intelligence.
Well, your heart is obviously there, and you've tried very hard.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah. And those people that you mentioned, talking about it as a parent, I have had people say, "Well, how can you accept that?" And I, just look at them and I say, "How can I not accept that?" I had a child first, and then the gender comes second, but you have a child.
Yeah.
So, does it really matter?
Right.
And then they just
turn
look
that
at me.
question right back on them.
And I say, does it matter? What would happen with you? And then sometimes they answer it in a horrible way. And, I say, oh, you have a lot to learn. Or,
Glad about your kid.
thank goodness, she's not going to be around you soon, and just speak it honestly. That's what I've done. And just even having flags, the flag issue at one school where I taught, I had two flags, and the trans flag and the pride flag on my desk, and I was asked if I could remove them.
Oh,
and
by administrator or a peer?
Yeah, by an administrator. Okay. And so I answered the administrator, just as we answer the smallest children when they're doing something wrong. I said, oh, no, thank you. Yeah. And then I just stared. And I have incredible wait time, so I just stared into his eyes and thought about what I needed to pick up at Target. And then he just said, oh, and he left. And we never really talked about it.
Right, so he was trying to use some social pressure on you, and you just let him sit in that discomfort.
I did.
Yeah, great.
And then I put one on my door. And that was really helpful to put like a safe space sticker on there.
Yeah, like this.
Yeah. I did have 4th and 5th graders come in and ask questions because they knew that they could ask questions.
Yeah.
So that was important.
Even me as an older trans person who started transitioning in the late 90s, I feel much safer if I'm in an institution and there is some visible, flag or something, or this is safe space, something like that around. I just feel, even as a well-cooked, well-into adulthood person, right?
Welcome.
Middle-aged, I'm in my 50s, I still have some fears. So seeing those things are actually really helpful. They really are. It's not just performative. It is out there and it's helpful. So
it is.
Yeah.
Important.
Yeah.
So let's take a break.
Okay.
Let's take a break.
He's like, they're too much for me.
Mom,
Let's take a break.
You were a burlesque dancer in your past life. That's the
You
perfect
were,
way of
actually. You had to.
explaining
I
it.
was naked all the way under those.
You were.
Under the sheets. I'm like, I'll take these
was,
off and I'll
yeah.
follow you
That's
down
how we
there.
paid the electric bill when you guys were small.
Oh my God.
Chippendales. Chippendales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I made less.
Yeah, well, clearly.
Remember when the gas got turned off?
Yeah.
Mom had to go to work.
I didn't ask you to scoot in.
We didn't. Yeah.
Oh, because.
Jeff just snuggled right up to me. Thank you, Jeffers.
You're welcome. I know you miss me.
Yeah.
All right. So, I just got to say, it's been so lovely for me to hang out with all of you. Yeah, it's so nice to see such a well-functioning and loving family, because, I talk to a lot of people who've been through a lot of trauma with their families, either, abandoned, abused, that sort of thing, misgendered. And, so it's so nice to hang out with people who get it and are willing to learn if they don't, and to see that the love is constant, no matter what, which is just great. So I was wondering if you, just to round out the interview here, because we've been talking for a while, if you have any kind of last minute thoughts, maybe a summary of what you said before, or, something else.
Yeah, I can start.
Yeah.
I love the thing that you said about just, the love and them getting it. I think just...
And it's a relationship that you were also in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a very, cooperative effort. They're open to learn. They're, open to, change and be cool in that way. And I think, one of the things I've just learned over, especially this past year, is just, how fucking lucky I am to have that. And, just... insanely lucky to have a family that put their child before their child's gender,
or the social problems or the state oppression that's happening.
And all of that stuff. And it was the family is family comes first, basically. The thing that I would want to end on is just you have to practice finding some light in there, some joy. And I think the more that you practice that, the easier it becomes, or the more light you can notice, basically.
Right. And you can also depend on other people, find help, find allies.
Yeah.
And if you're an ally out there, reach out to trans people or queer people, people who are impacted by these, by state oppression right now. And that's what we're going through right now.
Yeah. I think as, trans people, it's it's almost relieving to hear people learn and to hear cis people ask those questions.
Right.
And, there of course, there are some questions that are, not good. And there are some days where I'm I don't want to fucking teach these people, but there's still these, and sometimes I do say that, but, there is, at the end of it, I'm so much more happier that people are willing to learn than make that judgment and just say basically make caricatures of us.
Yeah. It's also vulnerable to sincerely ask a question.
Yeah, it is.
It is. It really is.
You have to move past your ego, saying I'm sorry, that was wrong of me to say. It's not a lot of words, but that's fucking hard to say a lot of the time. And I don't know. And some people feel like it compromises their beliefs in some way, but I'm just I don't know. Look around you. You need to find some humanity.
Yeah. Well, and as you alluded to earlier, change is possible. You've seen change. We've seen change at this table. I've seen change in myself. I used to be much more rigid.
Absolutely.
Even with myself.
Yeah. And we kind of talked about this earlier, but especially, I just had, going into transition, I had so much internalized transphobia. I had a lot of that, and it took me a long time to realize, that is wrong of me to, feel and believe, and, society instilled that in me, but, can work through that.
Right.
You can let it go, and then you have, amazing relationships with other trans people, and you're more tuned with your community, and you don't hate yourself and others, which is
and you
valuable.
you can extend that out.
Yeah, and you can extend out that love.
Yeah.
And I think you get better at even talking about transness to cis people once you are able to examine that on your own. But it comes back to having the foundation to examine those things. Both of those things are just essential.
Yeah. How about you, Mom? See, I'm adopting you.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's okay.
We'll take you too. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I think we've all changed a lot just because of, how super proud we are of Ava. And she has way more courage than the rest of us, is kind of how we feel. So just becoming herself, and she's cooking, and so she's almost cooked, and so we're happy about that.
And cooking is a very creative endeavor.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, I do it at work. I can flip an egg.
All right.
That's taken years.
Over easy, over medium,
yeah.
over hard.
That's right. That's right.
Quit your bragging now, girl.
Julia Child would be very impressed by that.
Yeah,
She would.
absolutely. She would love me.
She would. You will be a chef someday, maybe, right? But just the amazing. We're just amazed at her courage and standing out, and her becoming finally her own person. And it's taught us a lot. It's taught me to hold off on, making everyone understand me and have a little bit more constructive dialogues with people, which I think kind of helps, because as a woman, to teach these two, as a woman in Nebraska too, where it's always, you don't want to ruffle feathers of that person, or will that cause too much of an argument, and it's more of
Is it more like you're picking your battles there?
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
And now it's no, stand for yourself. Show them what they should be doing as well. You need to have dialogue with people that you don't agree with. If they can't have it with you, you've given them the opportunity. Maybe time will come around again.
Yeah. Maybe you're planting a seed there.
Maybe, we hope. We hope a lot of times when people don't agree, that maybe they can think about that when they're by themselves and have some time.
Yeah.
But, just don't give up on, your friends that want to actually trust you enough to come out to you. Don't ever give up on your child. Just as we said, that's the most important thing. You had a child first, and then your child happened to be a gender, whether that was the right gender at birth or it was realized later. That's your child. So don't ever abandon anyone like that. That's the most harmful thing. And the second most harmful thing are all the laws and all the states that are having all these problems with transgender people.
Yeah. These legislators are creating problems for people.
They are. But, that stays in the forefront of our mind. We're always planning, as Jeff said, we want her to be safe. We want her to grow up in an area where she can become her full person without having to worry about safety issues. And so, we're always looking at how long will we be able to stay in Nebraska? If we need to move, where will we move, so that she can be safe? And
what a loss that would be, because you all do important work in the community. Besides being a fucking amazing parent, the work you do in the community is really valuable. what a loss that would be to the city, Yeah.
But I think right now a lot of people don't care. They don't see it as that. And so that's what's kind of harmful too, that they don't see that they would be losing something like that. And maybe do we need to look, we've also talked about other countries. Do we need to relocate to other countries to make sure that, full safety is ensured? We don't know, but we're always contingency planning, I feel like. And yeah.
What do you think? What do you think, Dad?
I guess there's an awful lot of effort right now among a lot of people to make other people into something that they want them to be, and it's a fruitless exercise. You can't make people be what you want. As a parent, our belief has always been our kids came pre-wired to a large extent. They were going to be, and our job was to keep them safe, to give them information, to mold them as best we can, to model behavior that's appropriate and helpful, and to be there for them as they grew into who they were going to be. It's hard to see parents turn away from their kids. Those are your kids.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, sister.
Well, I have thoughts.
Yeah. Round this out, sister.
Yeah, I think having conversation like this is good because I think there's the one aspect like hearing perspectives from other people, like you're always going to learn more. And then also like taking away from this conversation that it's also like not up to marginalized communities to like teach us. And so like continuing the education and evolving piece on our own, like when we leave here today, because that's unfair to put that on marginalized communities too. Like you're already going through all this
and as your
shit.
sister just said, it's exhausting.
No, it is exhausting. And I totally hear like there are some days where she doesn't want to teach people and she shouldn't have to. So I think like knowing the work we need to do on our own is really important.
Yeah, that's real allyship right there.
That is.
Yeah, and I think like also I think loving my sister, I think being a sibling to a trans person, it's also just like really special because also I know like even with family, if someone in your family comes out as trans, that means that you are a safe person or at least safe enough for like them to come to you. And that's like a special bond to have in itself, just like to be a comfort space or a safe space or just have them feel like they can be themselves.
And you were the first.
The first
in the family.
Not to brag, you guys, but I was the first. And
But yet they can't live together.
yeah, that didn't work out.
That was hard.
Yeah, but
Personalities.
Well, you also need a break. you know?
exactly. We do better hanging out.
We do.
But yeah, just like being that safe space, and also like I'm super grateful that Ava is like an adult now and like getting gender affirming care is like something she can still get, but not knowing what the future holds. And then also knowing the community that I work with, there are a lot of like kids I see that want to transition and now they are worried about like the future. So also like spreading the word that there like are like gender affirming therapists or gender affirming doctors in the community or like those support groups. So the youth
even
knows.
that could be threatened though, right? Because in other countries, not other countries, but feels like another country. Though. Other communities, other states, their licensing and their the federal money is being pulled by states. Medicaid is being pulled.
Definitely. And I think for me, like doing therapy work, I just want to give that like safe environment. And I know in Lincoln there are more and more like trans inclusive, like LGBTQ inclusive private practices popping up that offer like self-pay too.
Very obvious. And advertising that.
And giving options, so it's not just like insurance or nothing.
Right.
And so
like sliding scale too.
And even like the UNL, we have a clinic where we do the sliding scale fee, and so like offering help there.
Can I add? There is also, like, as for non-UNL resources, there's Hope Spoke Psychology, that they're a nonprofit that does sliding scale as well. And they have like trans-affirming like care for therapy, because that is a prerequisite to get a lot of things. Unfortunately.
And I don't think it should be mandated to get this, but it's helpful, especially if you find somebody who is competent. Culturally competent.
Definitely. And I think everyone deserves to have like someone who accepts them, gives them the opportunity for autonomy, like being able to be themselves and listening to them and kind of taking them for who they are. So I'm happy that more opportunities are happening in Lincoln, but also just like continuing the support with legislation stuff happening and making sure like we still have our voices in the community and our offering support is important.
It sounds like a constant struggle, unfortunately. Anyway, thank you so much. I just love this interview. This was so great.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Cooper's involved. Cooper said it's my birthday.
Cooper has something to say too.
He said, "Did you guys forget?"
I forgot it was my birthday. He's getting the last word.
Cooper had a big party going on earlier.
We had a huge party.
Okay, Bubba. He's been getting a lot of love this afternoon, which is great. So we thank you so much for having me here. I just love it to meet you. It gives me so much hope that, that there's so much love and so much is possible and all the change. And all of us are so different too. We're on the more nervous side and, and your
More
fabulous,
socialistic.
bold mom and the dancer who will kick any ass, I think.
It's a deadly combo.
Throat
And
punch, don't I?
very solid, sensitive dad here. I mean, awesome. What an awesome interview. Anyway, so I'm off to Salt Lake City eventually. I have to cover a lot of ground here. I didn't get any interviews between here and there, and that probably has to do with what's going on in the country, what's going on in, other red states. I believe I am going to see somebody in Provo, but sometimes that's tenuous. Sometimes people cancel at the last minute, out of safety concerns or anxiety.
Right.
But I hope to get some more people from that area of the country, the Rockies and the Great Plains. So if you ever want to talk to me, please contact me somehow. And if you're very private, I can pixelate you. You don't have to, share details that would identify you, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be working my butt off and coming up with a grub stake so I can make it back to Alaska. I have to pass through Canada, and, the gas there is like three times as much as it is down here. It's by the liter. And it's like 170 something per liter. And the last time I came through, it was like $2.43 per liter. So it's like $10 a gallon, basically. Wow. Yeah.
Oh, Canada.
Yeah. Oh, Canada.
Canada, that's right.
Oh, Canada, how beautiful you are. And you're gonna take me home.
Yep.
Alcan Highway. And anyway, hope to meet some Canadian fellows and trans women and non-binary people too. I'm gonna advertise for that. Anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dad, sister.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Eva.
Thank you. Nice
Mama.
to meet you.
Thank you, my new child.
Yes. I'm adopted.
Thank you.
And Cooper.
Come, you bitches.
Cooper, birthday boy, 3 years old, always a puppy.
You stop through Nebraska sometime.
Yes.
We'll have a place for you. We're moving soon, so we'll have an extra bedroom.
Okay, little doghouse with treats.
Yes, of course. Always welcome.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right, thanks, y'all. Till next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
You didn't wave.
Awesome.
Wave. There you go.
Come on, Dad, play along.
I like Cooper's glare at you. He's like, Dad, we're done.
Okay.
Done now.
That's so funny. He just started barking.
Yeah. He started giving you the stink eye, like all of a sudden.
He was probably dreaming and then just
Yeah.
suddenly woke up.
He said, "What's going on? Where
Do you
am
want
I?"
us to move these chairs back for you? Where'd you get them? Make someone else do them tomorrow.
We'll take care of it tomorrow.